to always remember them in your hearts. Exactly. So I have a story to share with you today. And this story comes from a long time ago out of the Buddhist tradition. A very long time ago in India, there was a woman named Kisa Gotami. Someone she loved very much had died, and she was so, so sad. So she went to the doctor, and she asked, "Is there a medicine that you can give me that will bring the person back?" And the doctor said, "No, that's not something that we can do." And then she went to another doctor, and she said, "Is there something you can give me that will bring my loved one back?" And that doctor said, "No." And then the third doctor that she went to also said no, but encouraged her to go and talk to the Buddha, who was very wise. So Kisa Gotami went to the Buddha and asked if he could bring her loved one back to life. And the Buddha was very wise and told her he could help, but only if she goes and collects against death. Mustard seeds are a very common spice in India, so she thought this would be easy. So she went to the first house, but their uncle had died, so she knew that she couldn't take a mustard seed. Died, and so they couldn't give her a mustard seed. She went to how many mustard seeds do you think she had? None. That's right. She did not have any mustard seeds because everyone that she had met had felt grief. Everyone she met had had someone that they loved who died. So Kisa Gotami went back to the Buddha and she said, and the Buddha said, "Do you have the mustard seeds?" And she told him, "No. Every household has experienced grief." And it was then that she was able to bury the person that she loved, and she was able to feel some peace. What do you think she learned from this? What did she learn from going to all those houses? That everyone has a person in their life who has died. That's right. And why was that helpful to her? So that she feels like she's not alone. Exactly. When we have big feelings, and grief is often a very big feeling, it can feel like we're alone. But being in communities like this one, where we share in rituals, where we talk about hard things, where we remember people that we love, all of that can help us remember that we are not alone, that there are people who can help us through the hard things. In a little bit, we're going to do a ritual together to remember people and animals that we love, and I hope that you will participate and remember with us too. Thank you for listening. You all can go back to your seats. We take time during our service to light our candles of community, peace, and justice. We light our red candle of community to signify our interconnection. Whether here in the sanctuary, online, or watching this service later in the week or month, may the light we kindle ripple out to you. We light our blue candle of peace for places near and far where people live with the threat of war and violence. This morning, we particularly hold in our hearts the people of South Korea and the 150 people who died yesterday in a Halloween event. And we light our yellow candle of justice. May all people everywhere live their lives in freedom, and may we do our part in the work for justice and liberation for all in our global community. As we near Election Day, may we all remember to vote our conscience, remembering that we are the place we want it to be. We take this moment to pledge ourselves anew to the work of love. May these flames burn bright and strong in each of us. Will you pray with me? This prayer this morning comes from in a world of winners and losers, successes and failures, right and wrong. It is easier to celebrate the saints, religion's moral medalists and heroes. It is easier to celebrate the saints, those of haloed heads and storied myths, those whose true selves few, if any, can recall. The lamented miracles shining down from pedestals built far too high. It's easier to celebrate the saints, and plenty of saints are worth celebrating. But today, we celebrate all souls. All souls. All of the souls, every single one, the sweet and the grating, the loved and the hated, the cherished and the neglected, the valued and the exploited, the exalted and the lowly. All souls, whether they were saints or not. All souls, because all life is one. Spirit of life and death and change and transformation, spirit that is always becoming, mystery beyond all naming, yet who is closer than hands and feet, who calls each of us beloved. We give thanks. Today is set aside for us to remember not only our ancestors, not only our saints, not only our family, not only our friends and acquaintances and neighbors. We give thanks for this one day a year that bids us remember the entirety of humanity, the whole history of conscious life that lived and died and brought us to this moment, this era, this breath. We give thanks for a day to be honest, to be real about the complex feelings that bubble up when people die. A day to remember that we are bound to all of humanity, all of the souls, not by blood or rank or status, not by political party or religion or birthplace, but by our common humanity. All of the souls, all sacred, all holy, all one. In the name of all we find holy. Amen. If you would like to come forward and light a silent candle, you are invited to come forward now.
Our reading, Do Not Make Grief Your God, by Mahogany Brown. Do not make grief your God. Instead, make a cup of coffee, the espresso percolator whizzing on, the biggest eye of the stove.
Consider the dress. Line up every spark you own and weep at its small finalities. Hold each piece of silk and cotton like the please give grief a name. Then fold it, origami, place it kindly in a home suitable for royal things.
Text every contact in your cell phone. I love you. I love you. I love you. I love you. 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 Try the same responses. Each time, each item will bounce back with your declaration in the subject line. I love you. I love you. I love you.
Glorious chant of remembrance. Praise the ability to feel this deep. The goldfish, the grandparent, the ball player, the children detained, the spoiled water, the sewer split government, the sun, the promise of no more, the mother, the father, the empty womb, the empty heart, the desert branch throat clenching tightly, a name no one will speak.
On the third day, pull yourself out of feel death's bone milk. Good. This means you are among the living. Good. This means your heart is yours.
Do not drink from the glass left next to. Find fresh water. Find fresh yourself.
On the fourth day, when you wake, leave grief asleep if you can.
If grief is already sitting upright on top of the duvet covers, next to your closet, on the nightstand, against the crowded windowsill, call it by the name you've crowned it. Grief will watch you make the bed and fluff the pillows with lavender oil. Invite grief for a walk. Remind it with a whisper, we all need fresh air.
You and grief move soundless beneath the sun.
You and grief walk side by side, hands not touching, but feather wisp close.
The light tips its full cup everywhere.
Most of you should have received a leaf. I invite us all to take a breath together and invite into our hearts and memories someone you love who has died. This could be a person or an animal. They might have died recently or long ago. As you call this person into your memory, you are invited to write their name on that leaf to be shared on our communal altar. If you brought other items, photos, or mementos, you are invited to share them on our altar as well. If you need a leaf or you need more leaves, please raise your hand and we will make sure that you get some. You're invited to come up to the chancel, add your item. You may wish to simply place your item on the altar. This is welcomed, and we share your memory with you. If you wish to share, please come to one of the microphones and share using the phrase that is written in your order of service. I remember, followed by the person's name, who lived a life of, and 2 words describing their life. I remember Emily, who lived a life of joy and deep love. You are invited to come forward on the sides and go back to your seats through the center aisle.
I remember Theo, who lived a life of a good son.
Is this working? I remember Melissa, who lived a life of color and love.
I remember my cats, Arthur and Lexi. I love them both, and they are not here anymore. Now I have two other cats.
I remember Wayne, who lived a life of striving.
I remember my parents, Helen and Leo, who lived lives with love and laughter.
I remember my
I
dad.
remember my mother, who lived a life of discipline and service.
I remember my dad, who lived a life of hard work and great loss.
I remember Mojito, our doggie, who lived a life of joy and joy.
I remember Bill Grace, who lived a life of music and service.
I remember my grandma Barbara, who taught me how to shimmy my back dry after a bath.
I remember Anne Marie Cunningham, who lived a life of creativity and care.
I remember Bridget, who lived a life of courage and joy.
Thank you all for sharing. Do not make grief your God, the poet wrote. Instead, make it a cup of coffee. I had a therapist once who told me to imagine my big feelings, my grief, my anger, my shame, as a child or a friend I was ushering along with me. She asked me to imagine putting my arm around those difficult emotions and inviting them along, buckling them into the car. Grief is not something that is to be held at a distance. We don't need to be reverential to our grief, worshiping it or bringing it out only on special occasions with the good china, keeping it locked in the special cupboard, away from daily use on all those other days. In the poem we read, the poet suggested, give grief a name, then fold it, origami, place it kindly into a home suitable for royal things. Like it or not, grief is with us daily, whether we acknowledge it, whether we treat it kindly, whether we love ourselves through it or not. Grief is not always about grieving someone who has died. Life is filled with smaller losses, with different losses. I love the list the poem contains: the goldfish, the grandparent, the spoiled water, the empty womb, the empty heart, a name no one will speak. I have talked with many of you, not just about the loss that death brings, but also about the loss that comes with health issues or medical concerns. We grieve our memories, our mobility, our freedom from pain. We grieve losses that have not yet happened, the anticipatory grief of our own or others' death, of our own, and grieve for our planet. We grieve. Grief is often so complicated. We know that people are never all one thing or another, never all good or all bad. People we love dearly are also sometimes frustrating. People who made our lives more difficult can also be beloved. When we talk about those who have died, we have a tendency to make them all one thing or another. However, it is through naming and acknowledging their fully human nature that we are able to hold and honor their personhood and our own. Our job is simply to hold the complexity, to offer it a cup of coffee and let it exist without trying to make it different. There is a second part of the story of Kisa Gotami that we heard this morning. In the second part of the story, Gotami goes into the woods and is approached by Mara, asks her why she is crying in the woods and tries to arouse fear and terror in her. But Gotami sees this doubt and fear is Mara, and she says, "I know you, my friend." And with that, the story goes, Mara cursed under his breath and left. When we turn our hearts and minds to those challenging emotions, it feels as though they will become bigger, that they will swallow us whole. Yet as we see in the story, when Gotami not only turns towards Mara, but names him as a friend, Mara turns and leaves. We who are all affected by grief and loss, may we allow it to be part of this very human experience we are having here together. Amen. Thank you, Mary and Trevor and the choir. That was beautiful. Amidst the leaves that hold our loss, amidst the collective grief, are the gifts, the hearts, the memories and love that we carry with us. Within these leaves, you are invited to find a heart, or two or three, on which you will write the attribute you carry with you from your loved ones who have died. As Trevor shares music with us once again, you are invited forward to retrieve a heart to carry forward with you.
Our congregation exists and thrives through the gifts of those who call this place their spiritual home. If you are here with us in the sanctuary, you may put a gift in the collection plate as it goes by. Otherwise, you may make a gift online or send in a check. Please give as generously as you are willing and able to our Share the Plate offering to support Safe Havens and the mission of UUCR. Now, if this is your first time with us, your presence is gift in itself. Thank you.
Is the ancestors' bread when the fire Good morning. I'm Melissa Martin, your Member Services and Volunteer Coordinator and your Interim Congregational Administrator. My pronouns are she and her. In our congregational life today, you are called to consider a deeper connection with this, your spiritual home. Beyond attending services, there are so many opportunities to connect more deeply and engage with members of this congregation. You are invited to partake in worship services this year by filling a role as a guest leader, speaker, worship associate, or musician. You are encouraged to serve as an usher, a social hour host, event sexton, or by donating chancel flowers. Today you'll hear about small group offerings of all kinds, and we encourage you to consider trying something new this week, maybe even outside of your comfort zone. All of the details can be found in our newsletter, and you are welcome to contact me with any questions you may have. Tomorrow, Monday evening, our Buddhist meditation group meets here and online, and you are invited to give it a try. No experience is necessary. On Wednesday afternoon, join conversations with Nancy Nienhaus online for small group social engagement. All are welcome. Thursday evening, our choir rehearses, and they would love to have you join them. They will be preparing music for this upcoming holiday season, including Music Sunday holiday service on December 11th, and they would love to have your voice included. Simply show up this Thursday before 7:30 p.m. to learn more. On Saturday, November 5th, we have a full day of ways to engage in meaningful church life. Our Bread and Roses meal prep team meets that morning, as does our men's group, and everyone has a chance to be together outdoors for our annual leaf raking from 9 to 12 p.m. Adults and children of all ages are invited to bring their own rake and work gloves, and we will supply plenty of leaf bags. Many hands make light work, and this is typically a fun social activity that creates memories for those involved, and we really hope to see you then. Then next Sunday, as we begin November's monthly theme of change, Reverend Laura will lead worship with special music from our women's trio, and our religious education classes resume. For today, we will not have our typical social hours, as everyone is encouraged to attend our fall member meeting via Zoom beginning at 11:30. Those with us in person are encouraged to head out at the end of service so that we can transition online for the meeting. The warrant and the Zoom link can be found in the newsletter, the resource guide, and in an email that's going out at 11 a.m. Thank you for being the most vital part of our congregational life. Please rise in body or in spirit for our closing hymn, number 205, Amazing Grace.
please join me in our chalice extinguishing words, which are printed in your order of service. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. May this community be a place where we can know and hold our losses together, the large ones and the small ones, the losses in our own lives and in the lives of our friends and neighbors. May we hold ourselves and one another gently and with courageous love. Amen.